she said it. Those 5 dreadful words. Honey, we need to talk. So if that strikes fear into your heart, then today's live is for you. I'm Lesli Dories, your marriage coach, the creator of the Hero Husband Project and owner of Foundations Coaching. And I know with a lot of my clients, those words just terrify them. So if you already know that you want to not be afraid of having a conversation with your wife, being able to hold your own and have it really work out, then I invite you to get in touch with me through and set up a discovery session. You can put something in the comment section down below. You can direct message me or you can send me an email, and I'll talk more about that later. But one of the things that happens when somebody is approached, when your wife approaches you about, honey, we need to talk, and that's not going to be a conversation about where would you like to go for dinner. It usually is about something that's bothering her. And I'm going to give you a little hint. Just because she says, honey, we need to talk, doesn't mean you have to talk right in the moment. And what happens with a lot of people is, a lot of men especially, this is John Gottman, who is a guru in the marriage and relationship field. He's done research for 40 years. He has what he calls the 4 horsemen of the communication apocalypse. And he calls one of those stonewalling. And what he means by stonewalling is when you withdraw, shut down, or close yourself off from a conversation or an argument. So examples of stonewalling will be if you just don't respond, if you use monosyllables, if you tune out, like start playing on your phone, or focusing on some other activity. These are all examples of stonewalling. And as I said before, it's a process that happens more with men than with women. And part of the reason why that is because when your wife says, honey, we need to talk, it's because she's been thinking about whatever this issue is, whatever this thing is that she wants to talk to you about. She's already given it a whole lot of thought. And guess what? You just got surprised. You had no idea it was coming. Your brain is not in that mind space. And so you're not prepared to have the conversation. And guess what? You do not have to have it right now. But if you stonewall her, if you go ahead and say, okay, we could have the conversation, and then you get overwhelmed, which is a very common thing. I've shared this story before, that I can out-talk my husband, right? He once said, I overheard him say to a friend that he could never win an argument with me because I'm a woman and a therapist. I make my living with words. And, and I can. And I have in the past overtalked him, which is not fair. And by the way, it doesn't help anybody's relationship when that happens. In the moment, I feel better, but he doesn't, which is not healthy for our relationship. And so I have learned not to do that, or at least I've learned to try not to do it and be aware of it. But when somebody has been thinking about something and something is bothering them and they want to talk about it, you are going to start out at a disadvantage. It's like you get on the basketball court with LeBron James. I don't recommend you getting on the basketball court with LeBron James unless you want to lose. I don't recommend having a conversation with your wife if you are not prepared to have it. Now, that said, you can't just say, well, now's not a good time, we'll talk about it later, and later never comes, because later, like someday, is not on any calendar. If you are not prepared to have the conversation with her right at the moment, which is fair, then you need to say, how's Saturday morning at 10? And then Saturday morning at 10, you show up ready to have a conversation with your wife. and you're fully present. And by the way, that's giving you some time to think about your half of the conversation. What your experience is, what you're thinking about it is, whatever. That means you're not stonewalling, right? You're not frozen because you've had time to think about it, but you can actually enter the conversation on equal footing. Now, here's another piece of information that's critically important. Your wife has her experience and perspective on things, and you have yours. And it is perfectly fine for the two of you not to see things the same way. In fact, frequently you won't. Now, and so one of you isn't more right than the other. Now, there may be some information that happens during this conversation that is critical, that is informative, that might change your perspective. But then again, it might not. And by the way, that's okay. But learning how to stay present, not block, which is what stonewalling is, and continue the conversation and really listen to her and then be heard by her. Because just because she has this perspective doesn't mean it's capital T true, which is why I tell people don't get into a conversation about what somebody thinks or feels, because that's what they think or feel, and you're never going to win that particular thing. But you can learn how to resolve problematic issues in a much healthier way that actually supports your relationship, supports your partner, not at the cost of losing yourself. Because what happens with stonewalling is that it creates distance in your relationship. It puts space between you and the woman that you love, and then all other things are going to be a reflection of that. You do not want these things hanging over your marriage in an unresolved way. Now, unresolved can mean you just agree to disagree about this, but there are some things that you actually do have to reach agreement with your partner about. And if you want to know how to do that, then I have the solution for you. There are some very simple steps that you can take. Now, please note I said simple, not necessarily easy, but there are some really simple action steps that you can take to where you can not dread when your partner wants to talk to you about something, but actually embrace it. And if you're interested in learning what those are, then I want to invite you to set up a discovery session with me. So you can, like I said before, you can send me an email at Lesli, Lesli, at foundationscoachingnc.com. That's FOUNDATIONS, coaching, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie.com. Or you can send me a direct message. You can put a comment down below. And just say, you just put discovery session, and then I will be happy to get in contact with you and tell you all about it. But so happy communication, and I will see you next week.